July 17th, 2024 Library Board of Directors for T.B. Scott Free Library to order. Any correspondence to share?
None today.
Public comment. Barbara, we'd like to officially welcome you on the board. It's your first official meeting, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And we have a guest over there. Would you like to introduce yourself?
No, I'm good.
Fair enough.
Write that down.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm good. There you go.
All right. Minutes for the regular meeting of June 19th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve?
So, move.
Second?
I'll second it.
There's a,
Vote.
perhaps a typographical error
Okay.
on under 4, library director's report, second sentence, adult summer reading, read bingo cards and encourage all in attendance to grab one and anticipate. I assume that's participate instead of anticipate.
Okay.
It's just a minor
Okay.
thing. I did read it.
One thing I noticed and how important it is, under consent items number 2A, we're talking about Emily. Her last name is misspelled in one of the lines.
Oh, there.
First
Yep,
page.
I see it.
Oh, might be there too.
Yeah.
First page as well.
Okay.
It's EY, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, it was.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Spell
7.
check did not-
Seventh one row down.
Yep, I see that.
Okay.
Okay, 2 spots. All right.
Any further comments or discussion? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved. Vouchers for the June 2024. You have a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
Second? Second. Any comments or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The vouchers for June 2024 are approved. The unaudited monthly review revenue, and expense report for June 2024. And then, Lori, this one's the one that you passed out is
Yeah,
included
yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Everybody got a copy of that.
Page 31, that was not,
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion. Second?
Second. Second.
Okay. Comments or discussion? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The unaudited monthly revenue and expense report for June 2024 has been approved. The monthly statistical report for June 2024.
Do you need a motion for
Do I
that
have a
one?
motion to approve? Pardon me?
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Chris. Any comments, discussion?
I'd just like to point out that this is summer, and it breaks our like 18-month streak of increases, but it is because it is summer, and people go away. So, in case anybody had any concerns about that, magazines are still up. I don't understand that. the one thing that's usually down is up. So,
magazines.
Yeah, I think it's because there are fewer magazines, and therefore the ones that we've still got are the ones people actually do check out.
I know that we not getting the Wall Street Journal anymore.
Yeah. It was
They were
not been,
They were collecting dust. I was the only
Yes.
person that looked at them
most
occasionally.
likely, yeah, because we would do the tally sheets and
Mhm.
not, and we do those regularly, we were doing those like every 6 months. So, yeah, readership is just down. And the price is going up for those printed versions. It's ridiculous. Just, yeah.
Okay. All in favor of approving the monthly statistical report for June 2024 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Reports and discussion or action items. Action item number 1, review and approve the mid-year endowment fund report.
Richard.
my last official act.
So you think.
Bring me back from the dead. Okay, you want to just pass it that way?
It's good.
I hope I got enough. You copy, one of yourself.
Yeah.
We had enough? Okay.
Special delivery. Thank you.
Thought I made an extra one or two. Anyway, my final report. Just kind of go through it real briefly, like I always do. At the end of last year, we consolidated all the funds down to 3 funds. If you look at the fund balances, we got the endowment fund, the special project fund, and the Zander bequest. Just gonna simplify the accounting for the new treasurer.
Thank you.
Financial secretary. We got a money market account that's got a large amount of money in it. It's fortunately drawing not 0 anymore, but probably 1.5%. The Edward Jones account is $257,000. I think it's a hair over 5%, and the Incredible Bank is also a hair over 5%. So if you add those two together, call it $500,000 at 5%, it's $25,000 a year of additional revenue, which is going to be nice in the future. Next page, the receipts. The Zander bequest, well, the interest income, of course, continues to grow. It was $22,000 for the first 6 months. The Zander bequest sends the income from the previous year over in January or February or the subsequent year. So that is the income on the Zander bequest. So that, I don't think there's anything else there. Unrealized gain on investments. We got some very large unrealized losses in the past, but now with interest rates stabilizing, we're realizing some gains. I was sort of surprised. We only spent $11,800 in the first 6 months of the year, leaving us with an excess of $62,000. That added to last year's ending balance means we've got $673,000 in the account.
I'm gonna fix that though.
Hmm?
I'm gonna fix that though.
Oh, good.
Services is coming.
Okay, then the next 2 pages are an analysis of each fund, the 3 funds we have remaining. You can see the December 31st balance is carried up to January 1st, and then got donations of $3,500, interest income of $22,000. That's interest on all the CDs and money market accounts that we have. I mentioned the value of the investments went up $1,400, so that increased the endowment fund to $473,000. The Memorial Book Fund no longer exists. The Zander bequest, we had $1,400 at the end of last year. We got the $46,000. We spent $11,800, and I just sort of arbitrarily take all the money we spend out of the Zander bequest until it's used up, and then we can go into the endowment fund and the special projects fund. Special projects, we have $1,008 of donations to the special projects. Kevin now has 2 separate reports that he sends the treasurer. financial secretary, and he breaks it down into special projects. And the person that makes the donation should indicate whether they want it to go to the endowment fund. If they don't indicate the endowment fund, they automatically put it into a special project. So the basement fund, that's history. Nobody wants to talk about that anymore.
Yep.
Okay, then, analysis of the endowment fund, started with the 446,000. We didn't spend any of the interest in this period. We took it all out of the Zander money. And the receipts of income were 22,000. So we basically have $40,000 of unspent endowment income that we can spend anytime. So we have $40,000 there, we have the Zander money, and we have the special projects money. I think if you add that all up, we have available, $240,000 that we can spend. And build a lot of children's areas or whatever we're spending money on. That's the amount that's available to spend now. Questions, comments?
I will have a question later when we get to the NICE report concerning the endowment, but for now.
Okay. Next thing, where did I just go? Form 990. The Financial Secretary is obligated under federal regulations to make this available to all board members who want to look at it. Lori has a copy, I have a copy. If you want to look at it after the meeting, if you want to look at it later, we can run copies of it. It's about 20 pages, 25 pages. It's not as bad as it looks. My office has the program to do the 990, and there's about 20 numbers that Brian's new employee, Zach, gets those numbers and he puts them on here. It generates the Form 990. Questions, comments? Anybody like a copy of it? It's fabulous. I read it and puts you right to sleep. Last issue. Norma Hanson. The library, is the beneficiary of a 25% share of Norma Hanson's estate. There's been all kinds of trouble trying to get this estate closed. Craig Nino is doing his best. He had a special administrator appointed because the bank was giving so much trouble. He had Tom Young appointed as the special administrator. The previous bank, to remain anonymous, still haven't got any the money. And it's somewhere more than $50,000. That was Craig Nino recommended that I use that number because it certainly will be somewhat more than that, maybe a lot more than that. He's got all kinds of bills to pay for the estate, including the funeral expenses. I can't imagine the funeral home's very happy with him. And now we've got a special administrator, and so he said just use 50,000, but it would possibly be substantially more than that. And Craig spoke to the attorney, and he's got many, many hours put in on this. It's a shame that they put him through this. But anyway, that's the end.
Thank you, Richard.
Motion to accept the report.
Pardon? Can I get a motion to approve the mid-year endowment fund report?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It has been approved. Action item number 2, review and approve memorial books policy.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second? We have a motion and a second to approve memorial books policy. Any discussion? Okay.
That was the purpose of the motion. A couple of questions here, because this is actually a fairly sensitive topic with members of the public. So a couple of the questions I have, and yet I understand, and everybody needs to understand that every book in the library has to earn its spot on the shelf. And it does that by circulation. Books that don't circulate, we gotta make room for books that do. But it is oftentimes a real sensitive issue when people have given money, and used to be that they would pick a book, and sometimes that resulted in very, very odd books. But once they've given money, they sometimes come in looking for those books. And so the questions that I have are, do you have any idea at this time, at this point, how many memorial books we are getting ordered, like for the last 5 years, each year? Do you have a breakdown of that?
I can get that, I don't.
It would be
have- it's not
important,
gonna Be something I have.
to know like how many over the years. There's a small spider crawling across the table here. And the real question is, of the books that have been purchased, or since you chose the 5-year here, of the books that were purchased, say more than 5 years ago,
Mhm.
do you have any sense of how many memorial books are actually being culled? How many have been removed? Like, is it actually happening with great frequency, in which case there's a problem with how we're selecting memorial books? Or is it not happening? If the books are being selected, are generally being checked out, then it's a non-issue. Either way, I might consider asking for this to be amended to 7 years for memorial books only, giving them an extra 2 years, kind of like the legal definition of a missing person is dead,
It was 10.
which it was probably too much, but
Yeah.
I'm just not sure if 5 is enough. And it may be a non-issue. Without those numbers, we don't know, is my concern.
So some of the, I think, for the most part, if they're fiction, there's fiction materials that are being checked out, they typically continue to be checked out. I think where we're seeing that more often is we are seeing it in our nonfiction section. So, things become, they're hot topics, and they're important at that period, at a certain period of time, and then shortly thereafter, it kind of goes dead, and it's no longer being checked out because that topic is of no longer interest to anyone. And that's not for everything. Because we get people that do cookbooks and things of that nature. We've tried to, weed out the cookbooks that are not being checked out anymore, and they're falling apart, and whatever the case may be. And for the most part, that's where you're going to see those checkouts, and it has, and I kind of touch that here. If it's a subject matter here, where I know it's not something that's no longer pertinent, it's outdated.
Pigeon racing.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, pigeon racing, yeah.
It's a famous one.
Or if the item is just in such poor condition, and I can no longer, purchase a copy or replacement copy, then it's gone. And when we do a replacement copy for a memorial book, we do put a new memorial card back into that book if that does take place.
Right.
But I can't give you exact numbers at this time. We might be able to pull a report of some sort. It's not something that something that has to be put into the record on the back side. And I know that we worked on that some recently.
So this is a Robert's Rules sort of craziness, but I would withdraw my motion for this action item, and I would make a motion to postpone this to next month, and to give the director time to collect some of that information.
So you want to table it to next month?
Yeah, well, postpone.
Postpone. Okay, all right.
All in favor of,
If there's a second.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else supports that, right?
Don't you have to?
any comments or discussion on that?
Somebody would have to second it before you
Yeah.
could.
Don't you have to vote this first one down?
But I can withdraw my
You can-
initial motion for it, in which case it crumbles and somebody has to make a motion either to pass
Make a
this,
motion to
or somebody has to second my
postpone.
motion to postpone.
Yeah. Right. So someone can second Elizabeth's motion to withdraw,
Well, not.
and, or to postpone, excuse me.
postpone.
to
Or
postpone.
somebody can make a new motion to pass.
There you go.
We have a new motion to postpone until statistics can be gathered and investigated
Well, that would be a second.
till next.
She made the motion.
I made that
Need a
motion.
second.
Okay,
It would be a second.
you have a second on that?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Chris. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? It has been approved to postpone memorial books, approval of the policy at this time.
Until next month.
Mhm.
All right, it's a definite date.
It'll be an
August.
agenda item for next month.
Yep.
Review and approve of the 2025 library closure dates. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. Seems I'm gonna do it all day long.
Do you have a second?
No second.
Okay. Any comments or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The closure dates, holiday dates for 2025 for TV Scott Library have been approved. Review and approve the 2025 library budget. Do I have a motion to approve the library budget for 2025?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any comments or discussion? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the approval of, so we've approved the 2025 library budget. The Northern Wisconsin ILS Consortium Exploration, or NICE system merger.
So essentially, I mean, just that it is, I'm looking for some discussion that can, so we need a,
So this is not yet an action item?
it is an action
It is an
item,
action.
yes. We can, we are to, yes, we will need to vote,
Okay.
yeah.
Entertain a motion to, on action item for the NICE system merger.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Comments or discussion?
All right.
Where to begin?
Since we're.
So, I am first going, I do want to bring to everyone's attention that we received a letter from the Department of Public Instruction. Ben Miller, the Director of Library Services, they are in support of this, so they had asked that all library directors be provided with a copy of the letter to share with their board members. And that was received after I sent out the packet. My apologies for that. So I'm gonna start the discussion by letting you know that this was a lengthy process. I was not involved with it the first year, but I have been involved in the second year of this project. It involved a great deal of discussion, sometimes not easy discussions, as you know, if you have gone through some of the highlights, takeaways. There were points and discussions where people didn't necessarily agree with each other, but they were able to come up with a compromise. I spoke up a great deal about, how this is going to affect our patrons, how this was going to affect the materials, coming and going from the library. There was some discussion about how the transfer of materials from one library to another could potentially increase the amount of, we get tubs of books certain days of the week for hold requests from other libraries throughout the state, more so in our region. And there's indication that could increase 15 to 20%. So my concern was, how is that going to affect my staff? Am I going to have enough staff in order to make that happen? And they have indicated that there is some, that is just, unfortunately, it's a guess. It's not something that we can guarantee. However, there have been other library systems that have gone through these types of mergers, and they saw increases anywhere from 10 to 18%, some of them. And it wasn't always consistent. So while there is that potential, the one area that they have expressed in regards to that is it could possibly add another stop for us. Right now, we get those deliveries 3 days out of the 5. In order to possibly spread things out a little bit, they may add a delivery date if we see that increase. Again, they're not guaranteeing that. We've also talked a great deal about, we need to make sure that we are communicating better. They started with these town halls, and they've indicated that those will increase if this implementation takes place, making sure that everyone is being heard. They will be evaluating, reevaluating. They will also be doing some surveys along the way just to make sure that the libraries are being served and the patrons for these libraries are being served adequately. It was a lot to take in, a lot of information. So I will try and answer your questions if you have some. If I'm, I have my recommendation, and I'm willing to share that with you once I answer any questions anybody may have. I know, I'm looking right at you, Elizabeth.
Everybody is. So I thought that I knew all the acronyms, but the source of much of the funding for this is the LSTA. And when I went looking to find out what LSTA was, because I did not recognize that, I came up with the Loan Services Trade Association. But because they are sort of the source of the money, what is LSTA? It's state allocated funds, but what is it?
The LSTA boys.
Money from heaven.
No, I mean, it's the state funds that we get.
For, what is it, like libraries? What does it stand for?
It's for Library Services Technology and I can't remember what the A is.
Okay. So it's part. So it is is it a fund or is it a division of DPI?
It's a fund.
It's a fund. Okay. Library Services Technology. Library Services and Technology.
Yeah, I can't remember what the A is. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, that makes more sense than the
Yeah.
Loan Services
Yeah.
Organization.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, yeah, that's funds, but it's the wrong kind. And I guess because I was concerned about the money, my question then, jumping forward, actually Richard might be able to answer, which is, were you able to look through this report?
No, I didn't.
Because all I want to know is, the endowment is totally separate. It's not
Yeah.
affected by any mergers, any
Oh,
changes.
it shouldn't
and
affect.
No,
Everything
no.
is-
Endowment fund at all.
No.
sequestered and
Yes.
cordoned off, and there's an iron curtain and all that sort of stuff.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. No further questions, Madam President, Madam Acting President.
Any other comments or discussion?
So based upon that, I am making the recommendation that that the library vote in favor of this merger. Believe me, I have waffled. I went back and forth and I asked a lot of questions because there were times when I was sure and then I was there and then I started thinking about my patrons a lot and I started thinking about my staff a lot and how is this all going to affect my people here. So I had more questions and got involved and I asked a lot of questions when it came to that hold situation and the materials and things of that nature. How quickly will my patrons be able to get their materials? Will it affect them? Will it not? And some of the things that they have in place will guarantee that the requests are going to go to our local libraries first. And then if they can't find it here, then it'll go further out. Some of those processes are still going to be the same, but it's just extending it out further and offering us a greater amount of materials to search. That's all.
So, Lori, how many of the, in the north Wisconsin are in favor of it? Like, is everybody, is it like a full-fledged, like, all the directors that are involved in this merger are in agreement?
Not everyone is, I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
So,
Is everybody up in Northern Waters using Sierra? I mean, one of the biggest issues is the changeover in the ILS system.
yeah.
And so if they are all using Sierra, and we made the change from Sierra how many years ago? Like 4?
No.
Horizon to Sierra was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Away from Sierra?
No, from
No,
Horizon
Horizon
to
To
Sierra.
Sierra,
Yeah.
and you're still using Sierra?
Yes.
I thought that
No.
there was a moment when it seemed like we were gonna go use something else.
No.
So there's no change for us for the ILS, and it's the same thing, it's just Sierra, and we're okay with that.
And see what will happen. So both systems use Sierra.
Okay.
They use them slightly different. So their platform on how it's set up on the backside is different than ours is.
Okay.
And what will happen with the merger is they have updated and upgraded these platforms. What we will end up doing is we're going to meet in the middle. So there will be some adjustment, but none of our patrons will see that. Who will see that most often will be our catalogers
Right.
on the backside.
Right.
And some of the
So
reporting.
when you say we're gonna meet in the middle, does that mean some of those other libraries that Ryan's referring to are actually, is it going to reduce some of their capabilities? Because that
No.
then discourages them from
Yeah,
going whole hog
it's not going to, nothing is going to discourage or
reduce services.
services that way. No, it's just going to change how setup is done on the backside a little bit. So.
Okay.
So the report
Anything else?
suggests that we would see some savings on VCAT over the first few years. I saw in the 2025 budget that that line item is anticipated to grow year over year. When would you expect to realize some of the savings from the merger on the VCAT system?
The realizing that, I can't answer that. I can certainly get that information for you.
When would this would be a 2026?
It will begin, so the timeline is listed, so it gave us the timeline, and I can refer to that.
Yeah.
So we actually go live in Q4 of 2025. That is what they anticipate. And some of those increases, though, will be funded by the grant that was received. So the implementation of the program some of that cost will be covered by that grant, or actually a good majority of that. Thus, the reason why the necessity to have this voted on as soon as it is taking place, so. Because those funds are tied to a timeline.
So you said you've waffled on this. Besides just feeling the sympathy for staff, are there any potential pitfalls that you see? Is there any, what made you waffle?
Oh, well, the geographic area, just, the fact that we're covering that much space. But they were able to, we talked about that transfer materials and how that was going to be handled, that it was still going to look very, very similar to what we're doing. It's just giving us the opportunity to go out further, so.
Yeah. I think it's a great plan.
Any further comments or discussion? Okay, all in favor of the NICE system merger, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The item has been approved. Discussion item, youth services renovation project update.
So the project has gone out to bid. I was actually contacted by a vendor wanting to get the details, and I immediately sent them to City Administrator Rod Akey, since he is in charge of that process. So the bids will be coming in. Rod and I have, City Administrator Akey and I have discussed the timeline of that. The bid will be out for roughly 2 weeks. At the beginning of August, we will call a meeting with the Buildings and Grounds Committee here from the board. We will discuss that then. Mike, myself, those committee members, Rod Akey, we will sit down and take a look at those bids, and then August we anticipate providing a recommendation for the contractor at that point.
Right, okay. The Elm Tree project status update.
So the project is not complete. We are having some difficulties getting in touch with the individual that was hired to complete the tree table. As a result, we have sought guidance from City Attorney Tom Hayden, and he is going to be pursuing legal action, unfortunately. So we're hoping that we can at least get the part of the tree back so we can get it completed. So we run that risk of not getting that back. We're going to do our best. So that's where that's at right now.
Next discussion item, church property.
So the church property discussion comes from the fact that we have had in the past a contract with the owner for the care of the parking lot that is part of that property. We've up until, we paid for the paving of it. It needed to be done. But there has been some discussion about the maintenance of it during the winter months. Because it is that individual's property. We've talked with Emily Lay and I've talked with Tom Hayden about that not being our responsibility if the snow is cleared, and that they will be adding that to that property owner's tax roll.
Good luck.
Yeah. So.
Is there any update from the city on building permits, zoning issues?
Darren has not gotten anything from, no communications. There's been no communication whatsoever. I know they've indicated, they've been mowing the person's lawn on occasion, so that's been put on the tax roll.
Is there any conversation with the city attorney about taking greater legal action? Because, it's one thing to put it on someone else's bill. It's another thing to sort of be doing the maintenance on someone's private property on what could be a weekly
Mhm.
basis,
Mhm.
depending on what the weather is like. And it seems like that is a dispute that's likely to end up in court somewhere.
Some of the discussion has included just not taking care of that portion of the parking lot and just piling the snow.
Yeah.
Good idea.
It's a useful idea, except that the property
Yeah.
owner, I think, is not on site and could care less.
Yeah.
So it just, all it does is
Yeah.
reduce what's
Yeah,
available
that's-
to the public to
Right,
use.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
oh well, that's what happens when you share a driveway with your neighbors.
Okay, strategic plan goals and action steps. Number 2, review. Just for informational purposes. The Wisconsin Trustees Essential number 14. The library board and the open meetings law. Again, for informational purposes. And the library director's report.
So just, I mentioned some of the ongoing events that we have. You can always check those out on our website under events at any time. I have nothing to report from WBLS representative at this time. The Friends, nothing to report from them as well. They're just kind of, going through the summer. Youth Services Activity Room, I already gave you that information most recently. Northern Waters, we've discussed that. Again, details can be found about that project at that website if you have other questions. We just completed our last interview today for the part-time position. We hope to be able to put out an offer with the start date of September 2nd. We had some really good candidates, so, which is good. So most recently, I became aware of this Department of Administration grant. As I mentioned in my report, I've always wanted to have an outdoor space for our patrons to enjoy and for us to utilize for programming on the days when it's nice and we have these programs that are really messy. It would be nice to have them outdoors if we can. So I wrote the grant, and we will know sometime this fall whether or not we're eligible for it. So crossing my fingers. Our summer program was unbelievable. As you can see, the numbers that are reported in here, 527 youngsters. We just blew the registration out. And we were busy. They did a phenomenal job creating things for kids to do here at the library, things for them to do at home with their parents. They do a great job with that. And we had, what was that last group, 200 bags within a few days? The last kid?
They were gone in 4 days.
Yeah, 200 bags, and within 4 days they were all gone.
How was it compared to last year?
We were up, by almost, what did we have?
Kids last
70?
year, 20, 30. We think we were up like 50.
I was gonna say 50 to 75, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
You're in
yeah. And everyone had to walk in to participate. We didn't have any online option last year. We did have a small number who participated through Beanstalk Online. Didn't do that this year, and our participation was up even more. So every single person had to walk in this door.
What age group?
But all like 0 to 17 for the kiddos. So yeah, it was great.
And then our adult services, we did an adult bingo. Apparently people really like to do bingo type stuff. It's unbelievable. We had 163 bingo cards go out to adults this summer. So, well,
That
you know
hasn't
what?
ended yet?
No,
Right, it goes
that goes through August. The adult one goes through August 5th. It's a little more low maintenance, so it's something we can continue throughout the summer. So, yeah, we've been busy, and it's been amazing, and my staff has been amazing, and they're exhausted. So, we're gonna end the summer right on August 22nd, and we're gonna celebrate all of their accolades, and we're gonna celebrate the years of service that we will be losing when we have our retirements. So thank you again, Richard, for all your time and your talents here on the board. We appreciate that. And we will be sending them off to the next chapter of their life. So, Richard and Terry. So that's all I have.
Okay. I don't have much to say, except I hope Mike's back next month.
Mike, did you hear that?
All right, our next board meeting will be Wednesday, August 21st, 2024, 4 PM, here in this room. Entertained motion to adjourn. Thank you. We are adjourned.